I have so much to tell you today regarding the world of legal matters. I don't even know where to start. But let me start by saying to you, welcome and thank you for joining us here at Lionel Legal, our sister or brother network or station. I'm so glad you joined us. I thank you so much. It is a cold and rainy and dreary day, and it's beauteous. And I love this. I love this weather. It's from me being from Florida, where we have the most incredible rains. I've loved the rain my whole life. My God, my friends, my dear friends, let me say to you first and foremost, where do I start? Number one, you must understand this about me in case you are brand new to this. Maybe you said, who is this guy? And somebody called me years ago, Lenny. We had when I first started doing this with you on YouTube, there was a woman who said that, or somebody who said that her mother used to hear her daughter or son or somebody talk to me and said, "Are you listening to that Lenny again?" So that's been my name, Lenny, for the longest time. So let's begin. First and foremost, I have never seen anything like this before. Never seen anything like this before. And one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to always answer the question and ask yourself this specifically: how do I think? Let me first ask you, do you believe? Do you believe? By the way, hit that like button. Hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to this here Lionel Legal, or else we're just wasting our time. And thank you always for your support. That means a lot. We appreciate that. First question is, how do you think? Now, yesterday, did you hear about this earthquake? Earthquake. Incredible. Tsunamis and oh my God. Question number one. Do you believe that weather manipulation is possible? Yes or no? Now, if you do believe it, where would you get that information from? Do you believe that we are able, mankind is able, to militarily trigger a an earthquake and then a tsunami? Yes or no? Now, if you believe that, where do you get that information from? Tell me so I can go and read it. Tell me, where do you get that from? Where did you get that from? How do you know that? Where? Where? Well, first thing you do is go to geoengineeringwatch.org. Look at what's going on right now. Specifically, let's talk about weather modification. Let's look at dimming. Let's look at just solar radiation management, SRM, carbon dioxide removal. They are telling you specifically they're doing climate change now. Bill Gates and others go to geoengineering. Don't ever Google chemtrails. Chemtrails are the conspiracy theory version of this. Let me read to you a quote which I love to bring to your attention. And I have posted this on my on my Twitter channel for those of you who might be so interested. In April 1997, U.S. Secretary of Defense William Cohen declared that there are terrorists at work who, and I quote, are engaging even in an eco type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. So tell me, is he a conspiracy theorist? Now, here's what I've heard. So that would certainly indicate such. Do you know what would happen? And I'm just a civilian. But what if you could somehow figure out and trigger where there is a tectonic plate, a critical juncture, a focus or critical foci in which you can direct what we call Tesla waves. What are they? I have no idea. But it's kind of like direct energy weapons. You've heard it right, DEW. You're not really sure what they are, but you kind of. But is it at all possible? It is not beyond the realm of impossibility. It is not something that sounds just so specious and so beyond imagination that nobody's ever that they just dismiss it outright. Something worth noting. So that's question number 1, which we're going to be discussing. Next, how many of you fine and wonderful people are starting to believe or do believe that legalization of drugs is a bad idea? That it may sound good on paper, it may make a lot of sense for the libertarian community, but it's really not a good idea at all. And that it would probably be in everybody's best interest to just sort of, how do I say this? It just, you might, how do I say this, dear friends? I have been advocating legalization for as long as I can remember. And the reason why is because it intuitively made sense to me. I'm in that Milton Friedman, William F. Buckley, Kurt Schmoke, the then mayor of Baltimore, Judge Sweet, I believe is a federal judge, George Schultz. A lot of folks said this doesn't make any sense. Putting people in jail doesn't make any sense. Putting people in prison doesn't make any sense for selling drugs, possessing drugs. I used to always say it all the time. Oh, I knew my argument. I had it so well done. I had my argument so perfectly stated. I said, isn't it funny that kids can be found actually carrying on their persons strychnine, cyanide, and that's not necessarily against the law because it's not a controlled substance. It won't get you high. It'll kill you, but it won't necessarily get you high. And I thought, intellectually, this makes sense. Intellectually, this makes sense. That's what I thought. And I went along with it. But then I'm looking at what they're doing in Oregon, and I'm looking around here, and I'm seeing a complete and total disaster. That if I didn't know better, I was thinking that the same people that want to destroy our infrastructure, destroy our society, destroy our families, the people who want to turn everything into one big open wound, this Kensington, remember Kensington, Philly? Kenzo. This is the part of Philly that I think this is where they filmed a lot of the Rocky series. Do you know that? And this is important. This is important. But do you know that there are people, and I don't know, again, if this degree of, why legalizing weed results in so many people doing heroin on the streets. Look at Beastie Bees, kids today. What do you think? Someone writes, decriminalization is the only way to go if you want to get constitutional about it. But what if getting constitutional? And by the way, there is nothing unconstitutional about banning drugs. You know that, right? There is nothing unconstitutional about banning possession. Nothing. Life, liberty, property. The drafters of the Constitution, our forebears, they loved the death penalty, theft, and this and that. These people were hardcore. There is nothing unconstitutional about having a drug laws. None. Now, they might be utilized unfairly. They might be implemented unfairly. They might, but that's not unconstitutional. Faye says, look at Amsterdam. You see, my friends, sometimes, and this is important for you to understand, and this is what I go through. Sometimes the intellectual part of your head does not comport with the reality part. For example, I think that it is intellectually wrong, inconsistent, and wrong, I say, wrong, to spank children. I do. Intellectually. You can't go up to somebody and hit them for any reason. Because you want to discipline them, because you want to get their attention, because you're mad. No. You can't go to somebody at a Dollar Tree and say, hey, I've been waiting in line. What? I'm getting your attention. Excuse me? That's battery. But it's not battery if you hit your kid. Well, that's different. That's called discipline. Well, I want to discipline that lady, a checkout lady on aisle 3. Let me hit her. You can't hit her. If I was on death row and there was somebody who was on death row about to be given the lethal injection and he's, let's say, making a mess or not paying attention or not eating correctly or making whatever, can I go into that cell and say, come here, hold him down? I can't even spank somebody I'm going to kill. I can't spank somebody I'm going to kill. I'm going to kill him. And I can't spank him. I could get sued. I can kill him. I can't spank him. But kids, you can spank. And I think to myself, this makes sense. It makes no sense. However, what if there are some kids, as nutty as this sounds, where this makes sense? What if there are some kids who really do well? You hit them one time and they stop. And you don't really hurt them. And it's theoretical. I don't know. It's intellectually, I'm saying it's wrong. But what if it's practical? Maybe not all kids. I don't think you should be spanking kids who are emotionally upset. There are some kids who are developmentally delayed. I don't think it's a good idea. Same thing with the death penalty. What if I said the death penalty is wrong because it's state-sponsored murder? And what if all of a sudden, it's never happened, but what if the crime rates and the murder rates go down precipitously because I institute the death penalty? Maybe I need to reconsider this. Maybe you too. What have been your changes? I have never lived, and I've been involved in either crime, criminal, law enforcement, the law for 40 years, and I've never seen this. There's always been crime, there's always been armed robbery, there's always been serial killing and sexual battery, but I've never seen this blatant, flagrant lawlessness on the streets. I'm thinking it may be time to get seriously totalitarian. Seriously. Let me ask you, dear friends, how many of you care what the murder statute is? Anybody? Do you care what it is? I mean, you might care if it's like probation, but does this ruin your murder plans? You mean you weren't going to kill anybody? Oh, so you mean you don't really care about what the murder statute is? Huh. Because you don't commit murder? How many of you care what the child abduction statute and penalties are? Oh, you don't do that? So you don't really care, do you? Huh. That's interesting. So you don't really care about something that I see. That's fascinating. So maybe in our quest to be constitutional for so long and to be nice, maybe we've either inadvertently fueled these people, or what's even more interesting, maybe the world is just different today. Maybe it's just time to get real serious. I think it's that time. Who agrees with me? You agree with me? You agree? And when I say, do you care? I mean, do you care if it's too tough? Do you care if the kidnapping statute is a little too rough? That's a little rough. Or do you say to yourself, I don't care. I'm not going to kidnap anybody. Make it do whatever you want. Make it the death penalty. I don't care. I'm not kidnapping anybody. I don't know if that's the best way to think. And there are a lot of things you aren't going to do or can't do. For example, you may have an opinion as far as abortion goes, but you're not, I can't get pregnant. Certainly not at my age. But you know what I'm saying? We're at a crossroads, my friend. And we have people we have people here in New York who are not in any way desirous of making an impact. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to call into favor and into pay attention to our good friend Raul Rodriguez, who says, "It is time to open a can of whip ass." I agree with you. Let me ask you something. Let's see who gets this answer correct. What is the best way, Raul, what is the best way to what is the best way to protest a criminal statute? What is the best way to see that it is never enforced? What is the best way? Or one of the best ways? What do you think the best way is? What do you think there should be? What do you think the best way to, if you don't say, I don't like this murder statute. I think it's too draconian. What's the best way to, listen carefully, what's the best way to protest a murder statute? Don't commit murder. It's extinct. Do you know why the zoophilia statute that prevents you having sex with a horse, why it's not enforced? It's because nobody's doing it. There was a guy years ago who was found, he was a groom, and he was found having sex with a horse in a stable here in New York. And I was on the air, and I had more fun. I'm not going to mention his name. The man he's moved on, I hope, but it was one of the funniest things ever. And I said, this man might just be one of the greatest horse trainers in the world. This is a true story. They came in, the horse was like on his side, because he can't climb up. He's not like stump. You know what stump broke is, right? You heard that? That's a big Florida. That's a North Florida case. People used to, it was suggested that in the woods, in the country, sometimes some lunatic folks would have their way with bovine types, and stump broke was when you could stand on a stump and you could go like that and it would back up. I'm serious. I'm not trying to be gross. That's called stump broke. That is a phrase. I'm not just making this up. I'm against that for a variety of reasons. But anyway, so it made me think about this. I'm thinking, so this guy must be a hell of a, forget the lipizans. How do you get this thing? All right, Flossie, get on your side. All right, get on your side. All right, I'm gonna go. Now, another thing too is why are they charging? This is really, and I'm not trying to be stupid or cute. I said, why is this against the law? First of all, normally we don't do things where we hurt, harm, cause inordinate pain to a horse. I don't think this man is going to be hurting a horse. What does he say? Take it all. I mean, I'm serious. I'm not trying to be gross about this, but sir, how can you hurt a horse doing that? And I asked the question, and people say, it's a good question. And another thing too is, who was it who said we have to have a statute against this? I keep going into stables, and they're doing it all the time. We have to have a statute. Have you ever been driving on a country road in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden there's a red light flashing? You ever notice that? Like all of a sudden you can drive for miles, and then all of a sudden at this intersection there's a red light. Why? Because somebody was killed there. Because somebody went to the local folks and said, "Hey, we got to put a red light there because people are dying." So normally when laws are passed, it's because there was a need for it. Who came up with this one? Why an animal? But I don't understand it. Listen, I'm against it. If for no other reason, I think it mocks and is most discourteous to the animal. I mean, but then I said, excuse me. And I remember going on the air with this. This is the most ridiculous thing in the world. We put this animal that they were talking about is in confinement. It's a horse racer We take other animals and we skin it, kill it, fry it, saute it. We kill animals. We put them in zoos. Why is this? I'm not kidding you. It was one of those questions where I remember one time they'd say, it's a damn good question. I don't know. I'm not suggesting I'm not in favor of it. I don't want to repeal anything, but it makes you wonder what we think is important in this country. And we have people who are running around. We have retail theft crowds. Do you know that somebody told me that on Amazon, somebody said, be very careful because when you buy stuff on Amazon, a lot of the stuff is stolen. So was purported. And I said, well, what do I care if it's stolen? Is it what I'm trying to get? I know this is terrible to say this, right? Is it what I'm doing? Well, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. We used to have a guy in the neighborhood who would come into this one particular bar. It was a burger. He would come in and he would steal stuff. And he brought in, he'd have wallets one day. He'd have makeup. He was just a thief. I'll never forget him. Weird glasses. I don't know where. He'd come in and sometimes he'd have good stuff. I never bought anything from him. One of the waitresses, he came in and goes, "Oh, you're nice. Here." He says, "You like," and this young girl from Ireland didn't know who he was. So he said, I've got some. What do you want? Take whatever you want. Oh, okay. Take it. So she took a bunch of makeup or whatever. She walked into like a Dwayne Reed. And all of a sudden, the alarms went off. And because the stuff she had was stolen, she had no idea. And the manager said, "Oh, that's okay. You're coming in. I saw you. Must be a mistake. Here, let me take that off." And she came back to work. She goes, "You're not going to believe this." I walked in there. I said, "Did you take anything from the burglar?" "Yeah." "Well, anyway." I know that was an interesting trip down memory lane. It was a bit discursive, a bit elliptical, a bit desultory. So we went off into the woods talking about animal abuse and the like. But the question is, with all of the laws that we have and all of the concerns about EVs and climate change and whether Leah Thomas should be able to compete. There's a new one too where a fellow who's got a beard. So I just saw the headline somewhere. With all of our concern regarding that, nobody seems to be concerned whatsoever in basically having laws that deal with law and order. And I'm telling you, that's why you need to have President Trump, because something tells me if he gets in, we're going to have this again. Now, my friends, I talked to a friend of mine. He might be watching right now. He's kind of a big shot. He's kind of with a certain governmental-esque type of organization. I said, "What are you hearing about the bridge?" Let me ask you, what are you hearing about the bridge? The Francis Scott Key Bridge. Do we know anything? Is there anything that's are you finding this? I know Lara Logan was saying some things. Other people are talking about a cyber attack. Are you hearing anything at all? Pete Booty giggity giggity giggity. This guy is the worst. He does nothing. So my friend says, it's the damnedest thing. I'm talking to friends of mine kind of in the government, and nobody either wants to know anything or knows anything. Very interesting. Don't you think that is? I think that's exceedingly interesting. They don't know anything. They don't want to know anything. Fascinating. Fascinating. I love that. Now, show of hands. How many of you think that bridge collapse story sticks? Now, I know some of you good people have said, "Well, I think maybe it's an accident." And that's you are entitled to think whatever you think, my friend. But how many of you, show of hands, how many say, "It's weird. I'm not buying it. I don't understand it. I don't know why the whole bridge came down. I don't know why. Why not just to say, didn't they anticipate something?" Andy says they had power problems for the 2 days that they were loading a ship. The shipowner petition to cap damages at 43 million. Edie says suspicious. Very interesting. Hillbilly says, I heard it was a well-executed plan. Well, I don't know what's so well-executed. If the plan was to destroy the... But where is the interest? Where is the interest? Where are the people saying, let's talk about this? Let's get to the bottom. Hey, Jim Jordan, you going to have a hearing on this? Is there a transportation hearing? Is there a transportation subcommittee? Does anybody care about it? Why are we always the people who say, hey, this looks weird? Oh, there you go again. I don't think what we're saying is crazy in the least. Do you? I don't. Beastie says it's a diversion. It's a distraction. What distraction? It's a distraction. What kind of distractions? Nobody even cares about it. They didn't even know what happened. Yeah, but still. Why do you think it's a distraction? Because that's what I say. See, that's my thing. Whenever something happens, I'm saying it's a distraction, it's a distortion, it's a rodeo clown. It's to get your mind off of what's going on. But nobody's paying attention. Precisely. Does it make any sense to you? They don't need to distract anybody. Nah. If I didn't know better, they just want to say, we're going to target this. Somebody's got to be targeted. What's easy to do? Let's go there. Baltimore. Let's give it a shot. Anybody want to do a trial run? Let's do a beta test. Want to do it? Anybody? Want to do a kind of a dress rehearsal? Let's see what happens. What if people are killed? Well, it happens. They don't care about that. Maybe 1:30 in the morning. Obviously, could have happened, during the day. It could have been worse, right? So maybe they cared in that respect, but they don't really care. They don't care about that. They never. We can go down the list of all the stuff that happened. It's not really a false flag. It's just it's not a false flag. Theoretically, if this is indeed happened. And by the way, we don't have any evidence of this occurring at all. But if you did want to, would it surprise you? If somebody said, do you know how we screwed? Do you know the billions and the billions and the billions? Somebody somewhere, some cause, something, some item, some organization, some collective, somebody is benefiting from this. Do you hear what I'm saying? Either insurance or whatever. Somebody. Next. It is still heating up regarding Judge Merchan and his daughter, and Trump, and his fight for freedom. I think that Alina Habba I'm not seeing her as much. She's busy going on vacation and going to St. Bart's and, being this hot model or whatever she's trying to do. The other folks, they look very serious. Have you seen this two co-counsel? They look very serious. I like that. So now, this is the greatest irony of all. Now we have people who were suggesting that the lawfare issue is so out of control. Lawfare, meaning where you are using the court systems to unravel, undo, disrupt, derail politics and the like. And this New York looks like the worst. I mean, it looks like the worst. First, Judge Engeron. What is this? What is this? President Trump? Yes. We're going to sue you. For what? For fraud. For fraud. Yeah. Who's complaining? Nobody. Who? Nobody. Nobody's complaining? Is there a lawsuit? Yeah, we're bringing the lawsuit. Who's we? State of New York. Why? Because you defrauded. Who? You said your properties were worth more than they really were to get loans. Are the financial institutions suing? No. You do know it doesn't matter what I claim, right? You do know it doesn't matter. They're going to take their own appraisal. I can say it's worth whatever you want. So why are you doing this? Are you claiming that the amount of taxes that I've been paying or your estimate, your appraisal is correct? Or what are you doing? I don't know. It's just, look, it's just election time, and I'm Tish James, and I'm going to bring this thing, and there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. And Judge Engeron here has already declared that you are, in essence, liable. So now we're going to go straight to damages. Wait a minute. Nobody's bringing the lawsuit. Right. And you're claiming I defrauded, what, the state of New York? Yeah. Why? Because we said so. You said so. Yeah. So where did you get this from? What do you think it's worth? I don't know. 450, half a billion. Wait a minute. So now they're looking at, maybe it's not really takings clause, Fifth Amendment, but they're looking at maybe an Eighth Amendment argument. I mean, this is the one where people are saying, what? Can you imagine this? You're being sued. By whom? I'd rather not tell you. Who? You were involved in an accident and you hurt that person. Who? That person. Did that person complain? No, we're complaining. You mean like a criminal charge? No, a civil charge. We're bringing this on behalf. We said you did something and nobody's complaining about, but we think you did. This makes no sense. No sense. Then you got the judge. Then you got the Dusty Saddles. Dusty, whatever her name is, Dirty Saddles or Stormy Daniels or whatever. This one. And this is another one too. Is like, wait a minute. So what happened? 31 counts of what? Yes. When Cohen, by the way, Cohen's yakking and yakking and yakking. He doesn't have a gag order. When the president basically paid or issued a gag, paid hush money through an NDA, they should have been calculated as such and such, but it wasn't. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, fine. So what is it then? Well, it is something else. What do you mean it's something else? Well, it means that it was actually an in-kind payment of sorts. This doesn't even make any sense because he benefited politically if he can get her to keep her mouth shut. Remember, there was this woman, McDougal or whatever, but then the guy from Pecker or whatever, the guy from National, interesting, the guy from National Enquirer basically bought her story and killed it. This is what's her name. Remember, she had to pay Trump years ago. Only guy I know goes to a hooker, and the hooker ends up paying him. Anyway, this is the most convoluted thing in the world. Nobody cares about this, but it's the idea to see who's going to get Trump first. So Tish James is in the offing, Alvin Bragg's in the offing, because whoever wins, you're going to be promised federal judgeship, governorship, big. You're going to be the Dewey of your time. So we got Tish James, okay? Then you got Jack Smith. He's federal, but they brought him in from The Hague. And they're claiming that Trump, of course, took documents. All right. And they keep showing pictures, boxes and boxes of documents and papers and everything in bathrooms stacked up. Those aren't the ones we're talking about. They just showed you pictures of that to make you think that's what it is. But those aren't the ones. What? Those aren't the ones. Then you had E. Jean Carroll. E. Jean Carroll, who, I don't know, in the 80s was supposedly, and the jury believed her, said she was attacked. She was not raped technically, but she was, I think, digitally violated. So when the word is used, I mean, this, and it went from like 5 million to, what is it, 80 million? This, so you've got that, this, and the best one, the one that people aren't taking seriously, the one that you should take very seriously. Oh, by the way, the January 6th case, that's another one too. That's another one out there. But the one you really should take very seriously is this racketeering case. And you can laugh all you want. This is very, very serious. And you've got Fannie Willis, who was the most corrupt individual anybody's ever seen. And she was told by Judge McAfee, keep your mouth shut. She says, I'm not going to stop. She's still doing it. I'm a black woman. I'm proud. This is lawfare. So on 2 separate occasions in New York, by the way, come to New York. This is the business capital of the world. Come to New York. Everything's great. Everything's terrific. What do you mean? Well, come to New York. Great for business. And people think, am I next for Tish James? Do you know how many people, how many Republicans, crypto Trump supporters are out there? They're scared out of their minds. It's the most amazing thing in the world. Do you understand what's happening? Meanwhile, there's no law enforcement being done to handle retail theft crowds, organized crime on the street, domestic terrorism. There was never been one charge against Antifa, one charge against Black Lives Matter, nothing. This is like something you've not been able to see. Dear friend, what I'm telling you is that there are no protections. Nobody is looking out for us. Do you understand that? Do you see this? This is the most this is the most incredible thing. And I'm not saying this just because I got to tell you this story. I saw this today and I kept playing it. I played it back. I'm listening to this. This is a quote from someone on Fox News this morning, or excuse me, on a YouTube, I guess maybe on a prior Fox News piece. Quote, and I did some ellipses. Quote, so Jonathan, they were talking to Jonathan Turley. So Jonathan, do you get a sense that the motion is not a sense? Do you get a sense the motion is remarkable that it fails to include a single decoration versus declaration? I'm saying this can't be happening. Why don't they care? Why don't these people care? Why? Why in the name of God do these people care? It may mean nothing to you. I may be, and I think I'm the only person who cares anything about this, but our mother tongue, nobody cares about this. Nobody says, excuse me, I'm sorry, we can't let them on. We have to teach them some remedial. This is not English. You're saying the wrong words. These are malapropisms. These are spoonerisms. These are mispronunciations. These are unforgivable errata. Errors. Errata. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you think I'm too persnickety? Do you think I'm too supercilious? Do you think I'm too priggish? Do you? Do you think I care too much about the English language? Do you think I get upset? Have you noticed Daily Mail? The errors, the errata, the misspellings. I don't think it's AI as much as because I think AI would make these mistakes. It's almost like there's dictation problems. Do you believe that I care enough or too much about our language? Do you think that we're ever going to lose it? Do you think that when you introduce people, by the way, we're not talking about somebody who has an accent. We're talking about somebody who does not know how to speak. Curtis Sliwa years ago, I have a list. I might read you. I kept the list of all of he made, I don't know if he does them still, but we used to keep track of everything he did. Curtis Sliwa, as you know, is the generalissimo of an imaginary group of urban commandos called the Guardian Angels. And Curtis is interesting. He is a part of this group. And what he did was what Curtis did, I thought was interesting. He would make these mistakes, a lot of mistakes. But I thought, is he really saying this? I mean, is this really I mean, is he really? I don't know. Is he really doing it? It's hard to say. It's hard to say. But in any event, one of the things he would say, for example, for Alzheimer's, he called it Alzheimer's or Anheuser's. Or, let me see if I can remember. He would say things like, he would say a phrase that you thought you sort of knew, but then you go, but what is it? He goes, like a knight on a white shiny horse. The pigeons have come back to Capistrano between a hard rock and a hard spot. Tinkling the ivories. I mean, I have maybe, I don't know how many pages. I'll read them. I'll find them. You cannot believe malaprops, but they were part. It was almost like Norm Crosby. One time one time he said, how many ships did Christopher Columbus have? 4. I remember seeing 4, the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa, and the Maria. I'm telling you, you couldn't believe what you were hearing. One time he was trying to explain, he was up late at night. He was always working very, very long hours, and he was never slept, and between that and the guardian angels. And he was trying to say that Bertolli olive oil, he was trying to explain that Bertolli olive oil, if that he would rub it on his foreskin to grow hair. And I remember I walked by, it was in the room, the studio, and I walked by and I said, excuse me, I'm sorry. I normally let these things go, but you rub olive oil on your foreskin to grow hair. Why do you want to grow? I can understand maybe rub it on your foreskin, but why would you want to grow hair? He meant forehead. Somehow, I said, but why do you want hair on your forehead? You mean your head? Because his hair was, anyway, it was just, so anyway, but it was funny. It was, he's a very smart guy. He knew, but what we're seeing these other people is like, they don't know. They're not ready for this. There are people that they're saying, well, we'll get somebody, he'll fill a particular niche, she'll fill a particular niche. And you never hear this. You could have an accent. You can have a foreign accent. By the way, remember, British is a foreign, but this, poor Mrs. L, I'm saying, listen to this. I said, how does somebody say, come here? Yeah, listen, we're going to take you off for a while. See, if you drop the F-bomb, they would sanction you. But if you don't speak English, does this have enough decorations and emotion? Not declarations, decorations. Do you have a scent that president of the United States, Attorney General? I mean, I look, I live in a different world. I expect things to be better. I expect there to be law and order. I expect there to be rational thinking. I expect there to be a certain degree of lucidity. I'm old-fashioned. I'm living in a world that expects things that, frankly, we're not going to have. So I am so sorry. I don't understand what's going on here. I have lost all my friends. Well, they weren't friends, but many of them I just do not talk to anymore by virtue of Trump. And that's fine, because if you're not my friend, better to find out now. I've also found some friends that I never would have thought. People that you just, and you know what also is interesting? The number of people that I found, this really surprised me. The number of folks that we know who are gay, who are pro-Trump. Not so much pro-Trump, pro-Trump, but also against this current administration, because they have been completely forgotten to that other trans. As we speak today, I say this all the time, but we are 200 and This always scares me. We are 200 and here we go. 216 days until the election. 216 days. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? Do you think anybody in this country cares about Israel? I don't. I don't think anybody cares. Do you know what is happening there? You know who this fellow, Jose Andres, his kitchen, world kitchen, hit by a drone? Did you hear when Israel hit Syrian embassies? And you get, oh, great. Oh, no. I don't fit in this world. I'm thinking, what are we doing here? What's going on? They're going to come here. Do you think? I mean, is anybody paying attention here? No. No. The good news is maybe DEI. There was a case recently where we'll talk about. Remember, don't forget to subscribe to this. But some DEI cases that are just, I know, I've never seen anything like this. Who remembers affirmative action and Bakke, the Bakke case, 75, 70, I don't even know when it was, 77, who knows? It was a medical school case, Bakke. And it said that you cannot have quotas. DEI is insanity. And nobody is doing anything. So good news for Bill Ackman. Good news, I guess. They got rid of, Claudine Gay, whatever. Mostly because of plagiarism. You notice how that just went away? This is the worst thing. I'm telling you, Trump's got to win this thing. And that's not perfect. Trump has got to win. Trump's got to win this thing. Seriously. And I know we just talk about it, but if you watch these folks, these Republican types, they think like, oh, we got it. What are you talking about? Oh, no, we got it. Everything's fine. Everything's fine? You're out of your mind. No, it's not fine. There's nothing fine about this. Dear God. Thank you for letting me talk to you. Thank you today. I appreciate this. Thank you for letting me come into your life. Thank you for this. I really mean this. I really mean this. I can't say it enough. I can't say it enough to you. I also want you to make sure you follow dear and beloved and glorious and beauteous Mrs. L on her YouTube channel, Lynn's Warriors. It's very important that you do this. Very important. Because she is talking about kids, protection, trying to stop predation like you cannot believe. I'm so proud of her, and we so desperately need your help and your involvement to spread the holy word, to spread the holy word of truth. Okay? And also right now, Thursday night, what are you doing? This is the link. We talked to Dick Morris yesterday. He is raring to go. Where is everything right now? Hang on a minute. There we go. There we go. It's going to be at the Metropolitan Republican Club, one of the storied buildings in New York. By the way, this is not, there's tickets available. Mrs. Ellen and I, this is not, we don't make money over there. This is to spread the holy word of truth. The money goes to the club, goes to the Metropolitan Republican Club, and God knows they need something. And they're really, really earnest in doing this. So there's the link. By the way, one thing about Dick, which was so great, years ago, that was on WABC with a fellow named Bruce Anderson. We We had a guy named Dick Oliver. Dick Oliver was a friend of ours who was on Channel 5 for years. Just great, funny guy. And one time we were talking, I said, Dick Oliver. And Bruce was not really paying attention. I said, do you like Dick? He said, oh, yeah. I said, how long have you liked Dick? He said, oh, for years. I said, do you really like Dick? And it was so funny. And he wasn't really paying attention to what he was doing something else. And of course, the phones were going crazy. Because anyway, it's a Dick joke. And there aren't enough Dicks today. You notice that? You don't see a little kid. What's your son named? Dick or Dickie. You don't do that. I think we need more Dick. Don't you? We got all these names like Morgan and McKay. Well, those are women's names. But maybe for men. So anyway, it's a good name. What are some of the great names you don't hear anymore? What are some good ones, honey? Agnes, Phoebe, Josephine, Midge. What are some of those great old waitress names? Bobby Sue. What are some of the great Gladys? Marilyn, Gladys. Those are great names. Dick Morris is indeed awesome. Edith. Edith is a good name. Damn good name. Edith. Gwendolyn. Dick Trickle. There was a Betty, Ethel, Ruth. My grandmothers were Oma and Anita. Oh, I like that. Florence, Vera, Alice. These are great names. Just think of old sitcoms. I feel like Gladys Kravitz sometimes. Sometimes, too, the original Gladys. Sophia, Sophie. Vera, Verna. Emmeline. That's good. Gertrude. Liz has got that one. That's a good one. Gertrude. Hilda. Alma. Boy, Liz is just cranking these babies out. Great names. Muriel. I love that. Martha. Oh, we can go on and on. Chuck says, my grandmother's names were Alice and Ruth. Have a daughter named Sophia. See, Sophia can be a cool name, but it depends. Hazel. We had Hazel. We had Mrs. Young, our friends Hazel and Dick Young. They were always friends. Dick, another Dick and Hazel. Those were days. Those were great days. Hazel Young, I used to tell her jokes and she would pee in her, and she was in a wheelchair. And this is before they had any kind of diapers, but I would really make her laugh. And she would lose herself. And she said, tell me a joke. And she's laughing. And she says, I'm peeing. And my father would yell at me. I said, but she told me, don't do it. She's peeing. But she wants it. Now that's a talent. I don't make people die laughing. They lose the control of their bladder. They become incontinent. All right, my friends. Don't forget to follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors on YouTube. And we'll see you tonight on the other channel at Lionel Nation. Make sure you're signed up for that. Make sure we're just trying to spread the word. Johannesburg is a great, Gil Scott Heron said. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious day. Thank you so much. We love you madly. I mean that sincerely. And don't forget, as we always say, when we finish these things, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Dead.